Next, allow me to introduce my colleague, Carlo Fabrizi, with you. Carlo Fabrizi is our legal advisor based in Hanoi, Vietnam. He's working also as me with Dandrian Partners Legal Counsel. He has a law bachelor from China, a very famous university, Sun Yat-sen University based in Guangzhou. Carlo has assisted numerous Italian companies with their business in China and also in Vietnam during their process to set up business and companies in these two countries. Carlo, you recently just moved back to Vietnam. Could you tell us a little bit more about how to do business, what you need to know about investing in Vietnam, and also from your own observation, what has changed in Vietnam? Thank you.
Sure, Daisy. As Miss Daisy already introduced, I'm Carlo Fabrizi. So I'm advisor here in Dandrian Partners in our Hanoi headquarters here in Vietnam. So today I'm going to introduce how to do business actually in Vietnam and giving you a few basic information actually for if you really choose to come to Vietnam for opening your next business, or if you're already present here in the market. So this is the agenda for today. As you can see, we will give first an overview about Vietnam, and then we will move on with the FDIs, and we will also concentrate on the LLC incorporation and also about industrial zones and human resources that Vietnam can offer. So you may know, Vietnam has two very important hubs, which are Hanoi, which is the capital, and Ho Chi Minh City, which is in the south and is we can say the financial and economic capital of Vietnam. And we also have Da Nang, which on the central part, which is a new industrial hub that is developed here in Vietnam. And we have actually presence in both of these two big cities, and Hanoi is a very important actually place because the government, the main government is situated here, and many companies now are choosing also Hanoi for opening their FDI company. And among them, as you can see, actually we have our own social media where we share a lot of information about Vietnam. Also, companies like Foxconn, for example, and also Apple decided to move their production to Vietnam. So, but not only them, for sure. Today we are talking also more about Italian and European companies. So Italian and today actually we have two guests, Copan, which is Italian company, and Sanofi, which decided also Vietnam for their regional headquarters. So Vietnam, as you can see, is mainly based on the manufacturing industry, but has also developed real estate and touristic sector. So it offers a lot of opportunities for the FDI. Talking about the accessibility of Vietnam, this is especially very useful for factories. We have 3 international ports in Vietnam. The main is located in the north in Hai Phong, which is around 100 kilometers from Hanoi. And then we have in the south Vung Tau, and in the center we have Vam Phong in Thanh Hóa province. And also expressways now are start to be developed here in Vietnam, especially in the north, and they connect basically with China. And the same is also happening for the railway, which, as you can see from the picture that I share here, we have a very long system of railway here in Vietnam. And the goods, sometimes if you have the company in the north, you will prefer maybe to use the railway instead of the air shipment or even the sea shipment for having a more, let's say, fast approach for moving the goods to, for example, to China. As Mr. Dercole said, as a matter of fact, many companies still import their raw material from China. So China and Vietnam have a very important relationship, actually, as a matter of fact. And talking about the features, so the main overview of Vietnam. So Vietnam is actually started this internalization process in 1995 when joined ASEAN. There are many, it's a very strategic place for the Asia Pacific market because it also shares the border with China in the north and with Laos, Cambodia, and also the maritime border with Philippines and Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. And Vietnam, actually, as you can see from the picture, the GDP was growing since 1995 at a very high pace. So it reached 360 billion of USD in 2021, and 1 year before, actually in 2020, the very important FTAs have been signed between Vietnam and the European Union, and this FTA actually is giving a better protection, actually, from the IP point of view to the foreign investors. But it's also very important from the tariff point of view because 99% of the tariff have been actually exempt thanks to this FTA that have been implemented. So Vietnam, it's, as we said, it's a very suitable place for placing the foreign investment. So we will see now which are the main FDI that actually can be present in Vietnam. The first one is the representative office. Actually, if you want to open a representative office, sure, you need to have a mother company in your own country or in any other country outside Vietnam. And it will be pretty, I mean, the conditions are not so strict because your parent company needs only to have 1 year. They have been, need to be, it's pretty easy to open in Vietnam, but the problem is that you cannot open invoice. You cannot basically receive funds here in Vietnam. So the representative office, it's useful when you want to do some marketing or you want to establish a relationship, for example, with the government or with business partners here in the country. But if you want to have a more deep approach, a more deep exposure to this market, you can choose, for example, to open a branch office, but your mother company in this case need to have at least 5 years to be established, at least for 5 years. And in any case, even if you can make profit in Vietnam, as a matter of fact, but it will have some restriction because it will not be independent. It's not an independent legal entity, but it's always depending by a mother company, and you can only establish one per province. So the most common form of FDI, undoubtedly, is the limited liability company, which can be opened by actually individual, but also corporate investors. And it can generate profit. And after that, you create your first LLC here in Vietnam, you can also create branches. Actually, we had one client that came to our office a few days ago, and he asked us how to open basically a branch with his Vietnamese LLC that was already present here in Quang Ninh. And an example of the name that your company will have is this one, actually, that you can see in the example. So will be Công ty, which is company, TNHH, which is Trách nhiệm hữu hạn, is limited liability, and then the name that you choose for your company. In this case, in the example, we use Dandre and Partners. So Công ty Trách nhiệm hữu hạn, Dandre and Partners, Dandre and Partners LLC. Then for some sector or some business line, there is still, let's say, there is still limitation. Vietnam is not opening 100% to the foreign companies, for which the foreign companies need to have a partnership with a local company, and in this case, a joint venture need to be established. And for a joint venture, actually, we suggest to open in case, for example, you want to engage in some business like accounting, where your quota as a foreigner cannot exceed 35% of the charter capital, or also for the filmmaking, for the film production, also is 51%. you can have only 51%, and the rest, the remaining 49%, should be given to the Vietnamese partner. And let's I would say, to introduce better about the LLC, so how to actually establish an LLC in Vietnam. For foreigners, there are 2 licenses. The company should have 2 licenses. The first one is the IRC, which is Investment Registration Certificate. Basically, the government, the authority, is assessing your investment, the investment that you want to make here in Vietnam. And this part, it's maybe the most challenging, because you need to prove actually that your investment is eligible here in Vietnam, and you need to put an amount, an investment amount that actually makes sense to carry on your business. So when you choose to open a company in Vietnam, if you open in an industrial area, actually you will need to refer to the industrial area authority, which is the zone management board. In any other case, for example, if you have a design company, IT company, you don't need to open in an industrial area. So you will need to refer to the Department of Planning and Investment. And for the IRC, usually the most common documents that you need to provide are, especially if you are an individual investor, you will need to provide information about your financial situation in order to show that you really have the funds for carrying on the investment. But if you are a corporate investor, then it's a little bit more complicated, because you need to provide the financial statement of your company, of the investing company. So this is and also legalization and notarization process need to be carried on for the documentation that come from abroad. According to our experience, it may take around 1.5 months, 2 months to finalize this process, because you need to present an eligible application. That also the Vietnamese companies will have is the business license, basically, and it can be obtained very, very easily after that the IRC has been duly obtained, and this is applied at the business registration office. After that, you have both the licenses. You will need to do some post incorporation procedures, like you need to engrave the seal for your company. You need to open a bank account and do other tax-related procedures that we would suggest you to have actually an accountant to do this. And most important is to contribute the charter capital. Charter capital is the one that you commit to in the ERC, and it needs to be provided within 90 days from the issuance of the ERC. This is actually, there is no limit for charter capital. When you choose when you open a company, you just need to choose a charter capital that actually makes sense in order to have the approval of the government. For service company, usually can be around 10,000 USD as a minimum. Anyway, let's move on. And if you are a factory, you will need to choose the best industrial zone for your company. We have 3 main types of industrial zone: auxiliary industrial area, eco-industrial park, and export processing zone. Auxiliary industrial area is for actually for producing products that help the manufacturing companies to produce the product. Eco-industrial park is for companies that does business with cleaner technology and eco-friendly production. And export and processing zone are those companies that import raw material to process it and re-export. So basically their material is not affecting Vietnam internal market. And when you choose the right industrial zone, you will have, of course, some benefit. The most classic benefit are administrative assistance, for example, for the procedures for your company, and HR services. So you can find also help for finding the workers for your company. And from the tax point of view, actually, we have our colleague, Mr. Ziet, which will introduce much better about this. But the main tax incentive is 2 years of tax holidays for the CIT, the corporate income tax. And for the next 4 years, you can get also 50% reduction on the CIT. But if you choose undeveloped areas for your company, you can even get better incentives. So that's why better to speak first with experts, with people that know the market, to find the right place for your company to get the best benefits. Going ahead with the here the human resources in Vietnam. Actually, it's very competitive, as you can see, because the average salary here in Vietnam is not even $300 actually, and the minimum salary, as a matter of fact, ranges from 4 million and 6 is like 197 USD. So even in Hanoi, which belong to the region 1, the minimum salary is not reaching the $200. So it's very good from an employer point of view, actually, for finding new resources. Oh, sorry. The last part, just to conclude, why to choose Vietnam for your next destination for the company and how to approach the market. So we suggest you to come to Vietnam, actually, because Vietnam has a very bright future, as we can see from the GDP point of view, but also from the human resources and the industrial zones that are more and more now. There are almost 400 industrial zones in Vietnam, and the population, most of the population actually was born after 1975. So you have very young people willing to work here in Vietnam, and you will have a very young environment. Then, choosing the right place for your company in Vietnam is very important, as I explained, for the benefit point of view. So you can find, you need to make sure basically to place your company in the right place, and keeping yourself updated on the policies. Actually, Vietnam is also very important because this is an emerging market. So I wouldn't say that the policies are always the same. We face every day, as a law firm, we face every day changing in the policies. We need always to stay tuned, having basically daily relationship with authority, with clients, also to understand how the market is going. This is also, I think, these 3 points. If you follow these 3 points, you can have very good possibilities actually to enter and let your business grow in the right direction here in Vietnam. Thank you very much.